Why yes, this video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are doing a nice little lore deep dive, and we are talking the World Soul, the World Soul Prison, the World Soul empowered Earthen army, and the whole conspiracy at the heart of the planet and the World Soul Saga. Because we are now at a stage this week where we can quite confidently chart the future path of this expansion and the overall arc of the trilogy. Sorry, Blizz doesn't like it when we call it a trilogy. The multi-expansion arc. So join us as we look at the entirety of the Titan Archives reveals in War Within, every new thing we learn from it, and ask who really holds sway over the World Soul. Is Azeroth for or against Titans? And okay, fine, how will Midnight end? It's true, that's a genuine part of this video. Okay, go.
Damn the Titans.
Right, so you know the Titan Archives quests, right? It's one of the weeklies that pops up every now and then, and you have to go off collecting Titan disc fragments until you have enough that Brinth and everyone's favourite gentle boy Dagran can access another of Archaedas' beautifully illustrated journal entries. And I feel like I'm finally able to talk about these logs properly in a video now, since we have seen all of them. I suspected we'd seen all of them in game a couple of weeks ago at entry number 5, but then this week another popped up and I got really excited and put off going to the Siren Isle and getting my amazing ring. Oh, my useless ring? Oh no. While I merrily gathered discs for Dagran, but then when I took all the discs to Dagran was like, oh, I believe we've recovered all of Archaedas' log entries. And I was all like, oh, thanks Dagran. Maybe you could have told me that before I went to get all the discs, Dagran, but whatever, I'm glad you finally told me, Dagran. And these Titan Archives things are as simple as you like. Nothing more than Archaedas narrating the history of the Titans' arrival on Azeroth. But it is low-key the most important questline in the whole of the War Within so far, as it is undoubtedly setting the scene for events that will go way beyond this expansion and probably into the finale of the World Soul Saga itself, in a series of shocking revelations. You won't believe what Archaedas has said. So why don't we go over everything new that we have learned from Archaedas' journaling. His first log entry isn't super exciting. It talks about how, as the Titans scoured the great dark beyond, they came across Azeroth and immediately sensed that the World Soul within it was unusually powerful. Nothing you didn't know already if you've read Chronicle.
This World Soul he speaks of? Do you think that's what Grandad Magni was hearing all those years when he was a speaker?
Okay, yeah, someone really needs to pick up Dagran a copy of Chronicle. Or no, a copy of Battle for Azeroth. You're supposed to be an archaeologist, Dagran. How do you not know this? We do learn, however, that the Titans were specifically searching for the Prime World Soul, a term that we have never heard before this quest, which definitely puts a new spin on the established Chronicle interpretation. We were specifically searching for the most powerful World Soul in existence, which we know exists, and which we even have a special name for, being just a little bit different from we discovered a new World Soul and it happens to be very powerful. Moving on to log entry 2, and this is probably the one we learn the least new information from. We are told that when the Titans got to Azeroth, they found the old gods, totally beat them in a war and imprisoned them in the deep places of the world. They then tasked their Watchers and constructs to build a vast planet-spanning series of installations, forges and the like, none of which is news to us obviously, but we do learn that the Titans called this series of interconnected facilities the Manifold, and that they wanted to study the World Soul specifically to ascertain that it was the Prime World Soul that they were after.
I've also read that while the Titans defeated the old gods, they tore a wound in the world. I always thought that was just a metaphor.
Dagran, are you for real right now? Someone get this boy a copy of the War of the Ancients trilogy. I mean, multi-book arc. So yeah, you may have noticed by now that Dagran and Brinth's role here is to comment on each log afterwards and basically make explicit what was otherwise only implied. I know writers that use subtext and they're all cowards, etc. But what she says here is quite interesting. The Void, the Titans, the Legion, every cosmological force have sought to control it or destroy it over the eons. And Two things really jump out to me here. One, she appears to be flat out just saying out loud that the Titans sought to control the World Soul here, doesn't she? Assuming that they weren't trying to destroy it, that is. And that is definitely new. Heck, Archaedas himself doesn't even say that, just that they wanted to study it. Chronicle and every other source before this has more often than not used the term nurture or protect. And to be honest, I'm not entirely certain that this line didn't survive from a previous draft of these quests, because as we'll see, Brinth certainly isn't wrong, but I don't think she should really know that at this stage. The second thing is, well, she says every cosmological force, but she only lists 3. We know that the Death Realm also tried to take a pop at the World Soul. The Jailer used the Forge of Souls to try and, oh god, I can't even remember. I might have been a bit checked out by them, but if you die in his boss fight, it tells you that Azeroth is a goner. But the Light? The Life Realm? When have they sought to control or destroy Azeroth? I've got a sneaky feeling that we might learn more about the history of the Light on Azeroth in the future, but we do also have some relevant information on the Life Realm too. In The Legend of Elun'ahir, a book that we discover in the new Night Elf home of Emirdrasil in Dragonflight, we learn of a legend concerning Elun'ahir, one of the Titan pantheon, and how, as the Titans fought the old gods, she planted a branch from the Mother World tree, which we learn was a gift to her from Elun, and she called the resulting world tree Elun'ahir after her great love. OMG, you guys, are you hearing what I'm hearing here? Elun'ahir and Elun were roommates? Now, there is a slight timeline question here, because G'Hanir is the Mother World tree in the Emerald Dream, and was supposedly created by Freya, Elun'ahir's subordinate, after the old gods were defeated and they got to shaping the planet. I'm not going to dwell too much on that though, because any previous lore is potentially up for grabs right now and can be pretty easily explained away as, that's just what the Titans wanted you to think. When Aman'Thul saw what Elun'ahir had done, he chided her. "This is not order," he bellowed. "You have infected this world with uncontrolled chaos," and tore the tree, a product of the Life Realm, from the earth, just like he did with Yesharaj, an old god of the void. However, Elun'ahir realized that even though Aman'Thul had destroyed the tree, the roots remained intact, branching deep into Azeroth, and secretly Elun'ahir told Freya to protect them and nurture the life that blossomed there. Now, this life eventually would certainly appear to be the Harinir, who coincidentally we also learned more about just this week in the Lingering Darkness 10.0.7 quests. We learned, for example, the heart of their society is referred to as the Cradle, and we know that it's even deeper underground than at least Hallowfall. We know that they worship the World Soul as a goddess, which suggests that they know a little about it, or have maybe even come into contact with it in some form in their history. Are they that deep underground that the Cradle is actually within sight of it? Maingal or Wayna is receiving visions from the World Soul and seeks advice from Magni about it, so maybe, like the old gods burying deep into the world, and the Titans digging deep into the world, and the Legion stabbing a big sword into the world, the World Trees are the Life Realm's version of that. Their way of digging through Azeroth's crust towards the World Soul to, well, in Brinth's words, control or destroy it. According to her, every cosmological force has tried to do one or the other after all. More on this later, but let's move on to log number 3, and this is where we really go to school. We are told that yes, Azeroth is indeed the Prime World Soul, and as the Titans constructed the Coreway, the colossal tunnel that goes straight down to the World Soul, the top of which is in Dornogal. Don't forget, if we'd got to Dwarf Town a day earlier before the Nerubian attack that opens the expansion and which destroyed the Coreway entrance, we could have just taken a trip down to the World Soul for a chat and saved ourselves a lot of time. But as they were building that big tunnel, Titans discovered huge crystals which they came to realize calcified chunks of the World Soul's essence. And like, that World Soul essence looks familiar, doesn't it? Are we to believe that Beledar, the giant crystal in the roof of Hallowfall's cavern, is not in fact a Naaru or other being of the light, as they seem to believe, but instead, well, Azerite? Congealed World Soul blood? Azeroth scab? Of course, we know all about Azerite from BFA, but if that's really what Beledar is, it poses some questions, like why does it appear to be so ornately carved? Why is it only golden in colour, or sometimes only purple, and not a mix of gold and blue like Azerite is? Well, I have a little theory about that actually. What if all of those old chunks of Azerite, like the ones the Titans found when they first got here, like Beledar, are gold and have light properties because at some point in Azeroth's history, before the old gods, before the Titans or the Life Realm or anyone else got here, the light was the cosmological force that was in control of Azeroth. The light was seeking to, in Brinth's words, control or destroy the Prime World Soul. So of course any Azerite created before the Titans' arrival would just be golden in colour, because that's light colour. Whereas now, Azerite is gold and blue, the blue reflecting the influence of order and the arcane on the World Soul. Probably quite concerning, if that's true, that this giant piece of the World Soul's essence regularly shifts into a void state as well. There is another explanation, of course, and that is that Azeroth is actually a being of the Light Realm in the first place, and that's definitely possible at this stage, but I don't think it is, and we'll get to why later. What do you think, Dagran?
Enormous, powerful chunks of World Soul essence. Do you think Beledar and Halifal could be one of them?
Oh, Jesus my dude. Oh yeah, we also learned that the Sundering cut off Dornogal from the rest of the Manifold and led to all the issues with the Earthen running out of juice. But actually, that's not new. We learned that in the opening War Within quests. With Dagran. Dagran was there when we learned this, Daggers. Have you ever thought about making notes occasionally? Okay, it is time for log number 4. And fam, strap in, okay, because this is where things go truly off the chronicle rails. Archaedas says that to protect the World Soul from the Old God's influence, the Titans constructed the World Core. And, yeah, we're all thinking it. That looks a bit like a prison, doesn't it? Specifically, a Titan prison, which tend to be made of discs, like the one in the Vault of the Incarnates that held Iridikron and his buddies in Dragonflight. Oh, and like the one that is literally the logo of the last Titan. But of course, that could just be speculation. We don't know it's a prison, do we? Has anyone actually asked Azeroth what she thinks? Maybe she really likes it. Well, it's funny you should ask that, actually. We also learned that as they worked closer to the World Soul, many of the Earthen began acting strangely, and some were even turned into Theredar, crystal Earthen. And that's not the first time we've heard that term, Theredar, of course. Baelgrim refers to Magni as one when we arrive in Dornogal. So there were a whole bunch of Earthen working around the World Soul who turned into the same thing that Azeroth transformed Magni into when he became the Speaker of Azeroth. So to be clear, and sorry, I'm going to do a bit of a Dagran here, okay, but when Azeroth is enlisting dwarfs into her service to do stuff for her, she turns them into Theredar. It's like her uniform. And why would she do that to the Earthen working on the World Core that was being built around her to make her safe? Well, Archaedas says that the Theredar rebelled against the Titans and damaged the World Core. They were trying to break the World Soul free because she had asked them to. So this thing is a prison, and the Titans are keeping Azeroth's World Soul in it against her will. What do you think about that, Dagran?
The Theredar? That's what they called Granda when he first got to Khazalgar.
Yeah, okay, mate. Well, you just let us know when you caught up, okay?
Wait. You don't suppose it was actually trying to reach your people? Asking for help? Like it did with my Granda? And undoing their directives? Was it actually giving them free will?
Oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. Now look, I'm pretty sure that the story will play out that yes, Azeroth was indeed giving the Theredar free will, released from their Titan edicts for sure, but it's probably worth noting Magni's state of mind at the beginning of the War Within, because he hated being Speaker at that point, felt like Azeroth was ignoring and isolating him, and talks about wanting to be set free from her service, implying that free will Dagran refers to goes about as far as which godlike boss do I want to do the constant bidding of, rather than true free will to live how you like. That's how it seems to me anyway, but like I say, I would be surprised if that's where the story is actually going. At the end of this log entry, Brinth expresses surprise that she can't remember any of this happening, and like, I don't know, Brinth, maybe that's because you get your memories wiped every few centuries? It's just a guess, I don't know. Let's find out with log number 5. Archaedas says that the Theredar were hunted down until their threat was neutralized, which would imply that there are none left. left. But don't forget, this is the Titans we're talking about here. They are notoriously shit at neutralizing threat. Of the 3 old gods that they imprisoned, every single one escaped after all. So I think it's fair to speculate that there could indeed be some Theredar still left out there, or that Azeroth has created more somewhere else. She is building up a bit of an army now, to be fair. The dragon aspects are no longer empowered by the Titans, but by her, the World Soul itself. Magni's Azeroth power was used to wake up the awakened Earthen that had been standing around with depleted batteries for years. But then Archaedas drops the bombshell that finally destroys Brinth's faith in her Titan masters.
Hey everyone, Evie here, yet again, but for the last time this year. Sigh of relief. Here to say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and thank you to you, yes you, for watching. For real. You guys are the best. 2024 has been a year. There were ups, there were downs, and there was plenty of wow. But I wanted to wrap up this annum by celebrating the wins, immortalizing the good times, and adding a new section to our Squarespace website. We were lucky to be in the press a couple times this year, so I thought, let's legitimize our work on the channel in a way that my parents could see and understand, and let's make a press section. Very legitimate. Thankfully, adding a page onto a Squarespace site is as simple as it gets. Just press the plus sign and then you're good. There are loads of pre-formatted pages you can start with, but I went with a blank one. I chose a 3-column blurb, and it was super easy to edit all the text and even add in links and a bit of formatting, you know, for flavor. Probably my favorite part is the sheer number of visual formatting options you have. Dividers, wibbly backgrounds, fonts, and colors, all within your site's existing look and feel. So purple, so on brand. I love it. I added a title, Hey Mom, and voila, it's live. Squarespace even automatically adds a new link to your header to make sure your shiny new content doesn't get buried. And that's it. I feel like 5% more legitimate, and my website is 500% bigger and better. It's science. Ready to wrap up 2024 on a high? Just head to squarespace.com/taliesinevitell for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, and go wild. Toot your own horn. Or just use code taliesinevitell if that's how you want to roll. That's squarespace.com/taliesinevitell. See you next year. Bye!
When we arrive in Donegal, we are told that Earthen have their memories wiped every time they get recharged, the implication being that thousands of years of memories gets in the way of their edicts and their sanity. But here, Archaedas reveals that no, actually the Earthen's memories are wiped to delete their exposure to the World Soul so she can't influence them like she did the Theredar. Can't give them, in Dagran's words, free will, and apparently destroying any that do. And Brinth is understandably a little bit upset about all this and vows to get all their memories back from the archive to find out what's what.
So the Keepers stole our memories and let us believe that it was for our own good. I want my memories back. I want all our memories back.
Yeah, go Brinth, and vows to get all their memories back from the archive to find out what's what. And I have no doubt that will indeed happen at some point. Before we hopped around grabbing discs and handing them into Watcher Archaedas' live journal entries, the archive was busted and unable to be accessed for 5,000 years. Who knows what we could find in there? And these two are right. It does call the entire history of Azeroth into question, while simultaneously confirming once and for all the most prevalent community theory out there in the last few years, that Azeroth is not a Titan, has never been a Titan, and that world souls in general aren't automatically Titans waiting to be born, but instead very powerful other beings that every realm in the cosmos wants to get hold of and basically imprint upon, so that when it's born, it will be a super mega badass version of their own kind. Imprinting on world souls is how Titans are created, but if the Void get there first and successfully influence it, it could be born a Void Titan, or maybe a Void Lord or God. Maybe this is how Naaru are created if the light imprints on them successfully? Beledar's light void cycle certainly fits in with that, or maybe it's a light being even more powerful than a Naaru that we are yet to encounter. I know the writing's been on the wall with all this for a while now, but these logs really do appear to be setting them in stone for the World Soul Saga's arc and conclusion. I do have one other question though, because if Azeroth isn't a Titan, and I think it's pretty clear she's not once does Archaedas describe the World Soul as a sleeping Titan, and when the aspects were zapped with Azeroth's power at the end of Dragonflight, they said this is not Titan magic, which is also a bit of a giveaway. So then, who is the last Titan? Because it's not Azeroth, is it? Well, we are obviously into the realms of pure speculation now, of course, but I will say, if it were me writing the World Soul Saga, I would end the Midnight expansion with the promised Void attack on the Sunwell, and then when all looks lost and the Void are on the brink of victory, the Titan Pantheon turns up, drawn back to the Azeroth that they sense was in peril, to help us defeat Xal'atath and the forces of the Shadow once and for all. But then, in our moment of victory and relief and celebration, Iridikron pops up and is all like, oh hey, remember me? I let the Void lure the Titans here, and now my plan really starts. Presses his Own the Titans button that he's been working on this whole time in private, and kills them. The whole Pantheon wiped out. And that's how I'd have Midnight end, with Iridikron victorious, Titans dead, and nothing standing in his way to total world domination. And so the question is still, who is the last Titan? Well, who's the only one left? Who is the only one not in the Pantheon? Sargeras, imprisoned by Illidan somewhere in the cosmos. We decide that he is the only person badass enough to help us reclaim the world, and we have to convince Illidan to let him go, which probably won't be easy and may involve a boss fight. Sorry, Illy-Dilly. With the Void no longer a threat, and there being no chance of them corrupting the World Soul, there's no reason for Sargeras to want to destroy Azeroth anymore, and he helps us out. Thus ends my completely wild headcanon that I just came up with now. Merry Christmas. But what do you think? Where do these Titan Disc revelations leave us? Where are we heading? What will the ending of Midnight be, since we're apparently doing that now too? Let us know in the comments below. There is honestly nothing I love more than a big comments lore discussion. And thanks for joining us today and for another year of videos. It's been an awesome one for WoW in all its forms, and 2025 looks like it might just be extra special. If you like this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our work happen. And seriously, patrons, thank you, because without you, we simply could not do what we do, and there would be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evertel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it, and remember, my name is Dad of War. No, my name is Taliesin. From me and Evertel and all at tthe, Happy New Year and cheerio.